So I talk with brands every single week who are on TikTok Shop, and I see very similar patterns happen across the conversations that I have. And typically, when brands are launching on TikTok Shop, I see them launching with either 15, 20, sometimes 30 products at a time. They're sending out samples to every creator who applies to work with them. They've got content scattered across dozens of different SKUs, trying to figure out what piece of content is going to work, and none of it is really compounding their growth. They're spending a lot of money on things, but they're putting the effort really in the wrong places. And that's one of the biggest things that I notice. And a lot of the times they come to me and they're like, Jordan, what am I doing wrong? What can I do better? Why is GV Max not working? Is it our content? Are we doing something wrong with our shop? And the answer is always the same. And it comes down to that you're doing too much. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but the brands that I've seen scale the fastest on TikTok Shop, the ones that go from 0 to 50K a month or 0 to a million a month, those are the brands that really dial in their strategy and put laser focused on specific things that we're going to focus on in this video. I'm going to break down in this video the exact strategy and step-by-step that we use with our clients who do TikTok Shop to go from launch, from the beginning, from 0, all the way to scaling a successful TikTok Shop business. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you why this method actually helps you get past that 100K a month mark much faster than any other approach. Because once you have the foundation that we're going to go over right now, it really does help in helping you to scale past that point, and it really becomes a whole lot easier. So without further ado, let's get right into it, and let's start off with going over a little bit of some results from a recent brand that we've been working with. We've been able to scale this brand to $1 million a month here in the month of March. Big milestone for us here at the agency, ranking number 2 in its category. Very exciting stuff. We'll probably break that down a little more in another video. But this stuff that we're about to talk about has been a specific contributing factor to the overall results that we have been getting with our clients. Okay, so let's start out with a little bit of an example here. And we're going to talk about an example. I just pulled a random one from TikTok Shop. This brand called Thanks Naturals. And what I notice when brands are starting or existing and they're figuring out why they can't scale is if you have a look here, you'll notice that this brand, I just took a couple of screenshots. You'll notice that this brand on their shop page, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like there's a lot of products here, and there was like pages and pages of products and SKUs. And so when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, the reason why this brand is really having a hard time, if they haven't already realized it yet, is that they have so many SKUs. And when we look at running a campaign through GV Max, for example, is you can run a campaign with having dozens and dozens of SKUs, but what happens when it comes to actually acquiring your content and getting your content, right? It's going to be very hard for you because you're going to have to kind of spread yourself thin in order to acquire the content for each individual product, which then can really hold you back, especially if you're running campaigns on TikTok where you've got a campaign per SKU or per product. And so you can see here that these products, some of them have, one has 652 sold, 56 sold, 505, 111, 1600, which is higher, 4, 21, 10, 29, 7, right? So you can see here the sold prices on some of these products, you know, it's decent, right? But you've got them all spread across multiple SKUs. And this is kind of not the approach that you want to be taking. This is kind of spreading yourself too thin. And we'll talk about more of the details of this and what we notice goes wrong when brands do this. But if we come across the other side, for example, all you are going to be familiar with the brand called Goalie. Goalie has some core SKUs they focused on the very beginning, and now they've kind of opened up their SKUs. But when they first started and when brands first typically start, it's much better to put focus on core SKUs. If we have a look at this right now, right, not only do we have a good offer, which is another part of the process, which you can see the other brand didn't really have much of, but you can also see that we've got 4.5 stars, 32,000 reviews, and we've also got, 750,000 units sold. And then on the ashwagandha product here as well, we've got nearly 100,000 views and 1.3 million sold. And so there's a correlation between focus. If you guys have heard of the book called The One Thing, it's one of my favorite books to read, but it basically talks about the concept of focusing on one thing at a time, because ultimately, when we look at, let's say, let me kind of sketch this out, right? Let's say that this is us right here, all right? And this is going to represent, this is going to be really bad, but this is going to represent an eye, right? So we're looking this way, right? And let's say that we have, we have skew 1 over here, we've got a skew here, we've got a skew here. And we've got all these skews that we're trying to basically get off the ground and get growing, right? We want growth. We want to generate cash, right? But if all of our focus is put and split between all of these skews at the same time, not only is it budget wise, right? We've got budget in there. We've got also time, right? So if we do a little clock here, right? We've got time as well, right? Time is money, and money is going to cost you more to get out of getting some momentum on TikTok, right? And so the one thing basically talks about how when we focus on too many habits at the same time, we focus on too many businesses, or we focus on too many things, then what ends up happening is that we actually end up either not growing at all, or we end up actually not growing at all. We actually decline, right? We actually regress back. And so the concept is that if we focus more on having, if we are looking in this direction here, right? We want to just have kind of one core focus, right? Now this skew right here, we can funnel in so much more content into this, right? We can create more content. We can sample with just one skew. We know we have enough inventory. We can put all the ad spend behind one campaign, and we can have a bit more focus. Now, in the beginning, you may not know what your hero skew is, and so we have to really look at, okay, what are the unit economics of the skews that we have? What is selling more off of TikTok Shop, right? What is selling on Amazon? What's selling through your Shopify store, running through meta ads? We have to evaluate what is that top skew, but ultimately, the main takeaway that I want you to get from this, if you're a brand, no matter what stage you're in, is this is the key. One focus, consolidate. When brands come to us, I've had many different calls actually this week talking to brands about this strategy, but I get asked a question. It's like, well, what should I do? Should I put all of these SKUs in one campaign, or should I make a campaign per SKU? And the approach is always, when we work with a brand or we're doing an audit of a TikTok shop, is how many SKUs do we have and can we consolidate? We want to actually pull back a little bit more than expand. We want to have that mindset of consolidate rather than expand. So if that helps with the mindset around how we want to run a TikTok shop, this is better. Now, if you have deep pockets and you want to run every product up, sure, you can do that, but you have to understand what it's going to cost you, right? And most brands don't know how much TikTok shop really takes in terms of timeline and money in order to get to the 50K a month mark. Because once you get that 50K a month mark, things get a whole lot easier after that, right? So this is what I want you to take away is, one focus. So what do we need to look at in terms of our actual structure for our hero SKU? What are the factors we need to be considering here? Well, there's a few things, right? One of them is margin. We have to be thinking about, all right, what's our margin percentage? And then also with our affiliate commissions, right? What are we actually paying? Because if our affiliate commissions are too high, or we don't have the margin for it, let's say our margin is 50% and we want to pay 30% margin, well, we also have to factor in that we've got a TikTok shop fee, right, of 6%. So then, we're already at 36%, so we're at 14% profit margin, and that's even before we factor in ads, right? Before we factor in, maybe you're working with an agency, right? An agency fee or a percentage, right? Where you're working with an agency that's sourcing creators for you, right? So there's lots of different things to factor in here. So you have to make sure that your hero SKU, I'm not saying that it should be extremely profitable necessarily, because ultimately the goal isn't profitability in the beginning. And this is where a lot of people get this wrong and they give up too early. They get emotional about their TikTok shop, is that our number one goal in the beginning is not ROI. All right? It's not ROI. And you're going to be like, Jordan, why would you even say that? That's crazy. Well, yeah, I get that, right? We have to get an ROI, but the goal is sales. The goal isn't ROI. You can't make the cake and eat it too. You've got to understand that there's a process, there's a step-by-step formula that you want to follow in order to get to your positive ROI. If you think that your positive ROI is going to come in 60 days, then you're kidding yourself. Just stop now. Don't even try TikTok Shop. Because the expectation is that, within days 90, right, 3-month to 6-month mark, this is when we can start focusing more on ROI. In the beginning, we've got to get the whole content flywheel going. We've got to get more content in. And if you're a brand who's already had a lot of content come in and it's still not working, well, guess what? Your content needs to be reevaluated, because it's not just about getting the volume. It's not just getting about the numbers of the amount of content, right? If you have hundreds of pieces of content, even 1,000 videos, and you still have a 0.5 ROI or a 0.6 or 0.7 ROI, you're not even making back your ad spend. It doesn't mean that it's not working. It doesn't mean that TikTok Shop isn't for you. It just means you're not making the right content. And so if you're working with creators or sampling and you're not doing it intentionally, well, it's going to really affect your ability to grow. You've got to almost reset. You've got to start again. You've got to set that timeline, going from being intentional about your content, your scripting, and your briefing with creators, or even making it in-house, and starting fresh and knowing what you're testing intentionally, right? So, sorry, a lot of tight tangent, but it's all relative to what we're talking about here, because when we're picking our hero SKU, we have to be thinking about what is our margin, right? The goal is to get sales in the beginning. The goal is to identify a good product that has a good offer that we know can sell, that we can drive sales with, we can get the conversions with, because the conversion data is really what we want. We want the data, because the data will help us optimize, and the optimization will then help us hit the higher ROI. Okay? That's the first thing. Another note I had on this too was, you want to also think about, when you're looking at your hero SKU, are there any related SKUs? Related cross sells, right? There's cross sells, there's down sells, upsells. And you can add them as variants on the listing. So the recommendation always is that we add variations of related products that fit very closely with our hero SKU, because even if we're not making content on the variants, the main product is still relative enough for people to add that to cart as well. The other option is, and this is also something I recommend if you really want to take TikTok Shop seriously, is create a bundle. I saw a brand I had a call with just the other day, and they did this really well. And this is normally best practice. When a brand takes, let's say they have a set of, 6 different flavors, and you have these bigger containers that may cost $30, $40, $50 each. But if you make a bag that sells all 6 flavors, well, guess what? This is a perfect new customer product, because now the new customers, they can try it. And if they can try the product, then they might pick a flavor they enjoy and then go and buy the more expensive product. But it's a good entry point. So having a product that has a bundle of different flavors where you can price it at a discount, and it's packaged in a way where it appears very, very nicely to new customers because they're not sure what flavor to get or not sure what type to get, create a bundle. So, hero SKU. If you don't know what your hero SKU is, you'll need to do your best educated guess on what's going to work, and also don't assume that your best product on Shopify selling through Meta is on TikTok Shop, but you want to test it, right? Because that's data that you have. So that's the first step, picking your hero SKU, looking at your margins, and just going with your hero SKU. Consolidation, not launching 200 SKUs, consolidation. So let's move over to step 2, okay? We want to price to convert, not profit. We just talked about this a little bit already. Get a little ahead of myself. So the goal is sales and data. Secondary is ROI. So this is a mindset thing. Profit comes later. And so the fastest track to get to the profit is to focus on this, the sales and data. But let's take a hypothetical SKU right here, okay? This is a product listing, all right? And this listing, let's say we've got 3 other variants, or let's just say 4 variants in the listing. Everything that we do is focused right here. All right? This means content, ad spend, sampling, inventory, and stock. Don't run out of inventory. You need to have the inventory to sustain when you do eventually blow up, when you do eventually get traction. So then all of your focus is going to one SKU. You're getting sales in the listing, you're getting reviews in the listing. And what we call this listing with multiple variants is it's called an Omni listing. An Omni listing contains almost listings within itself so that everything that we do can funnel to that one listing. We're getting product impressions, we're getting views, we're getting click rate, we're getting engagement on that one product listing. Because ultimately, we don't want to have multiple of these because guess what? We're going to have to put ads, content, sampling, inventory into each individual one. And if we need to spend 5 to 10 grand on ads, on sampling, on paying creators to get content, to try and figure out what content is going to work specifically for this SKU and this offer, well, now you got to times 5 to 10K by 4 or 5, which then puts you closer to, a 40 to 50K investment. And that's not factoring in COGS, that's not factoring in any other aspects into this, right? So it can cost you quite a lot. And so when we talk about efficiency to getting to scale and getting to ROI, we have to be willing to get that sales data to inform the algorithm with that specific SKU. And then once we're there, we can get more profitable. And then we can introduce other SKUs later once we have a proof of concept, because people give up too early with TikTok Shop, right? So Omni listing is that next step. And that's what I wanted to highlight here in step number 2. We already kind of talked about it a little bit. Let's move to step number 3. Want to build bundles around your hero SKU. So when we look at our hero SKU, let's say that the hero SKU right here is, let's say it's cherry limeade. That's the flavor. And let's say that this cherry limeade, I think I spelled that wrong, but that's okay. You guys don't judge me for it. But let's say this cherry limeade is a flavor, and on our Shopify store, one of the biggest things we see that's partnered with or bundled with this cherry limeade, let's say it's a pre-workout, is also let's say a creatine, right? So we've got a creatine. So if we've got people buying creatine with also the cherry limeade flavor, well, now we've got to bundle both of these products together into one listing, right? And so now instead of selling this at, say, 45 and this at 30, right, we bundle it together. Let's say it's slashed through 75. We're listing it at, let's just say, 47, right? So that way we're actually building a bundle around our SKU by using our own customer data. So that's one way we can look at our building bundles around a hero SKU. The other idea, which I mentioned a little earlier, is you can actually build bundles specifically for TikTok Shop. The goal here is perceived value. You want to have high perceived value. The higher perceived value that you have in accordance with your price, the more willing people are going to want to impulse buy it. So if you can have higher perceived value and have a list price of, say, $80, right? And you can bring this down to, say, 50, well, then this price looks a lot better than the 80, and you've also have a high perceived value because your pictures show all the different flavors you get, all the different little items you get within the bundle. So it has a high perceived value. So that is a really, really important part in helping you to kind of focus your TikTok Shop in the early beginning. You're trying to identify your winning SKU. You're trying to get revenue coming in. You're trying to get your ROI higher. Just focus more. That's ultimately what I'm trying to get through your brain here in this video. Now, step number 4, creative volume over creative quality. In the beginning, unless you have proven creative, there's an exception to this rule. You want to get volume because if you don't, you're not going to have enough data to look at. Because if you focus too much on, let's get 10 videos, let's make them really high quality, well, you're not able to give enough different people the opportunity to make a video about your product, about the problem solution, about different hooks, different approaches. You need to advise them with creative briefs, and you can't require them to make exactly what you have in the creative brief. But it's important to understand that you've got to get some level of volume, because the volume, once you get to about 100 to 200 creatives, that's really your bar. If you don't have 100 to 200 creatives yet, then don't even expect your ROI to be anywhere good, right? Because you just don't have enough volume. This initial volume is a good KPI to set. If you're at 100 to 200 creative, that's a good point. Now, let's say you're already at 100 to 200 creative, but you aren't getting any sales, or you just don't have many sales at all, or it's not working. Well, you need to reevaluate what is happening Like, are they good quality creators, right? Are you testing? And what I mean by this is, in your creative briefs, if you're highlighting, let's say you pulled some winning examples from a Calidator or Fastmoss, and you're advising them, hey, these creators are winning from our competitors. Well, like, how are you actually testing? Are you diagnosing the videos that come back and knowing, okay, this person made this video at this awareness stage, or this is a top of funnel video, or this video is a bottom of funnel video, right? If you want to learn more about how to understand the creative side of things, the bottom of funnel, top of funnel, awareness stages, then make sure you watch this video. I talked all about this, breaking it all down. But you need to make sure you know what you're testing, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to identify and iterate on what you've actually been doing. But I think it's just expectation setting around this, right? It's knowing that you have to get to a couple hundred creative. Are they good quality? What are you testing? Do you have a spreadsheet outlining what tests you're running? Did it work? Did it not work? And then you iterate and learn from the data that you're getting. The sales data is very important. And to what cost you should pay for a sale? In the beginning, it doesn't really matter. You just need sales. You need purchases, no matter what. You need to be able to find your right customers. Until then, you're just going to keep wasting money. If you're trying to keep your ROI super high and not allowing the algorithm to kind of figure out who to go to, then you're just wasting time and money. All right? And there's an opportunity cost associated with this, right? A cost that we don't see. It's the time it takes you to figure it out. More and more people are getting on TikTok Shop now. You don't have much time. You've got to figure it out quickly. You've got to be willing to invest, put the time in, because TikTok Shop not only will help you add a revenue stream to your business, but also will have a big effect on your Google search, on your Amazon sales. You've got to figure it out quickly. You've got to be willing to put in the time and set the right expectations and not give up too early. Step number 5, really, really important, is stacking social proof. Social proof is a critical component of your TikTok Shop success. So if you have a listing, and let's say it has 0 sales on it, and it has 0 reviews, no one's going to trust you, both the creators and also the people who are purchasing. And so what you want to do is other reason you want to have one listing is because if you have, say, 4 different listings, right? Or let's just make 6, and, one has 5 sales, right? And one has 3 sales. And then another one has, 12, another one has 31, another one has 20, and another one has 80, right? Now, obviously the 80 is going to be the best one, but now you're spreading yourself thin. You're spreading yourself out instead of focusing on one listing. And having more sales and more reviews on one listing is going to drive sales and drive growth so much faster than trying to do it slowly. You're going to waste so much time and money and opportunity costs by just spreading yourself out too thin. So stacking social proof, the sales and reviews are critical for TikTok Shop trust. Some people come to me and say they got a good product card click-through rate, but no one's buying still. Well, now we need to focus on a different aspect of this, right? We want brand awareness. We need to have time in the market. Sorry, that was chicken scratch. And we also need, that says brand awareness if you didn't know. Time in the market. And then you also need reviews and sales. This takes time. And you got to understand that if things aren't happening, if you've got a product card click-through rate but nothing's happening, then maybe there's some middle of funnel content that needs to be made. Middle of funnel, right? The consideration stage. Maybe the reason people aren't buying is you got good top of funnel, getting a lot of views and a lot of product card visits, but maybe you're not making videos that actually handle the objections and help push them over the edge to buy. And, one of the big things I talk about here is, and I've actually talked about a lot recently on calls that I've had, is that you have to look at GMV Max, you have to look at content as this ever-breathing funnel, right? It's a living, breathing organism. And your customer is not black and white. They don't see an ad and buy from that one ad and that's it. The customer journey. There's multiple touch points that happen across all different pieces of content. And so if you look at your GMV Max campaign, you're thinking like, oh, we're only at 10, 20, 30K a month right now. We can't get to 50K. You shouldn't be turning off the ads that aren't doing well and leaving the ones on that are, because guess what? Those top of funnel ads that are getting all the spend, they're critical into introducing your product and offer and then allowing people to then buy on the back end, right? Moving them to middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, where the back end of the sales pipeline for them is then getting them to purchase. And so it's a customer journey. It's not black and white. You need to make sure that you're focused on that. Now, I hope by going through this step-by-step process and what you should be focusing on, that you took away from this that having the right expectations is the way that you need to be thinking. And also remember that more focus is better in getting you to the results that you're looking for. If you're a brand that's doing over 50K a month and you would like help implementing this exact strategy, link will be below in the description to book a strategy session with myself and my team. We'll map out for you a little bit more about, what might be actually holding you back to help you identify that. If you aren't quite at 50K a month yet on TikTok Shop, or with your brand as a whole, then please go ahead and check out the free training down below that details for you the exact system that we use in order to scale brands from $0 to $1 million a month. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Looking forward to speaking more to you in the near future. And thanks so much. And let me know if there's any other questions or videos you'd like me to make in the future, because we're about to ramp up content and make a lot more here for you. So I'm excited to drop some more value for you. I'm a new dad. I've been adjusting to life, getting back into the content. So very, very excited to share with you and share more of some of the successes we've had, even though I've become a new dad and haven't had as much time to work on content to help you guys grow and scale. So very exciting stuff coming in 2026. Let's get it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Watch this video next if you're looking to learn more about TikTok Shop.